Welcome to the Social Your Sales podcast. Social has changed the B2B and professional services sales landscape forever. We are here to help you navigate what you need to know and how to execute these new strategies. Whether you are a sales leader, individual producer, or a member of the C-suite looking for answers, this is the podcast for you. Now here are your hosts, Brandon and Eric.
Hey everybody, this is Eric Holdo. Welcome to Social Your Sales. Today we're going to be talking to a really interesting fellow. His name is Lenwood Ross. And he's an attorney. He was a corporate attorney. He was, he's kind of a big guy in the C-suite at the age of 32, advising top C-level advisors. And now he's in our arena, in the social selling arena. And he's the one that came up with this interesting concept of social selling, and social being the third pillar of digital transformation. And Brandon, what was your biggest takeaway from this interview that's going to be coming up?
You know, I think so. This is a heady conversation, right? I'm not saying our other guests aren't smart by any means, but I love the way he thought about digital transformation. And we went all the way back to the beginning of the internet, and he talked about mobility being the first leg, and then he talked about cloud and shared stories about how people missed it, and then he talked about social. And I love that when you look at cloud, the era of cloud, and the companies that missed it and big companies that missed it, we're at that beginning stage where companies are making the decision right now whether they are going to miss or be a part of this social wave.
And I might say they may be making the choice of whether they're going to be around in 10 years.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, all right. Well, we hope you enjoy the episode.
All right, everyone. Welcome to Social Your Sales podcast. I am Brandon Lee, and of course, my good friend and partner, Eric Holdo, is here with me.
Hello. How are you?
All right, Eric, we are ready to go. Hey, everybody, we have a fantastic guest, and one of the things I love about Lenwood is he's a game night aficionado, and we are going to unpack that a little bit. But let me do a better introduction. Lenwood Ross, he's the founder and CEO of Accelerate. He is an attorney, which social selling and social influence and attorneys don't normally go hand in hand, so that's completely intriguing. And of course, you are a corporate attorney. You went to the University of Pennsylvania Law School. You went to Yale. You've got all these amazing credentials and experience in the C-suite, and now you are investing your life in social selling. I am so excited you're here. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. Yeah.
Lenwood, tell me a little bit about your journey that took you from,
Sure.
Penn Law School and a corporate attorney to social selling.
Okay, sure. That is an interesting journey. I would say pretty quickly made it to the C-suite. Although I was not a C-suite level executive, I served the C-suite and ended up in the boardrooms of large organizations. Most recently, I was at a $2 billion retailer where I advised the CEO and the CFO and the board. And I got to that point, I think I was maybe 32 at that point. And I was like, I cannot do this for another 25 or 30
Clearly
years.
a slacker.
I know, yeah. What took you so long to get there, Lenwood?
Gee.
You know, I was pretty young by the time I had that job. And I did that for about 6 years. And I said, I've had enough of this. It was a very tumultuous time at that organization. And it was in a founder-led company. So I did have the opportunity to kind of experience being in a founder-led company. If you're in a founder-led company, you understand that is a different experience than being in, some organization that's managed by corporate, hired guns. It's a little bit different. So I got to experience kind of the difference between like inspired leadership and kind of just management, who's, all about the numbers and not mission focused. So that experience kind of led me to say, hey, I want to go out and do something entrepreneurial, use more of my skills that I'm using here. And so I ended up leaving that job, helping my father out in family business. After that, realizing that the family business wasn't going to get me to the promised land. we were selling toner cartridges and office supplies.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so
It always comes back around to printing, doesn't
it?
So I started looking for mega trends, right? Things that were really going to be huge waves, and that looking for megatrends led me to social media.
Excellent.
Megatrends is one of the Transformers, right?
Yeah.
No?
It's the main Transformer.
Megatrends.
Oh, wait, different Transformers. Sorry.
That's funny.
That's great. Well, Lenwood, one of the main reasons you're here is that you used a term, you made a statement when you were on the digital download, which for anybody, 9 a.m. Eastern every Friday morning with DLA Ignite, and Lenwood is connected. I don't know the formal connection there, but with DLA Ignite.
I'm a partner.
Yeah, he's
DLA
a partner.
Ignite partner.
Excellent. And a couple weeks back, you were on, and in this awesome conversation that was taking place, you said social is the third leg of digital transformation.
Yes.
And it caught me because digital transformation, as Eric and I talk about a lot, it's a big buzzword right now, and there's probably a million different meanings that people have about it. But what you were talking about with it fascinated me. Can you tell us a little bit about what you mean about that, and what companies should be thinking about with social in digital transformation?
Sure, absolutely. So when I was going through that process of researching, what I wanted to do and understanding what was going on with technology, that's when I first encountered the term digital transformation. And this is now 5 or 6 years ago. Okay. And at the time, there were very large organizations that were making huge pivots because they had missed the cues on the cloud. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of Dell in particular, right? Dell was still focused on-premise, and they weren't focused on the cloud. And so they were making a huge turn. So I was researching all of this. Microsoft was at the beginning of their digital transformation. Believe it or not, huge companies like Microsoft had to undergo digital transformation. Even companies that were central to digital transformation, like Amazon, had to transform. So when I was going through this process, I really identified what I refer to as these 3 pillars of digital transformation. They're really mega trends that enable the transformation of the entire economy. So the first pillar is mobility, right? So we kind of got mobility at the beginning of the internet, right? Where, you can be on your laptop or you could be at home and you do your work. We kind of started to get this feeling like you could be anywhere. Used to say anywhere, any place, anytime, but it really wasn't. It wasn't real, really, at that time. Then about the middle of the aughts, about 2005, around that time period, you had the cloud begin to develop. And the cloud was really transformative in the sense that it made innovation really easy. Okay, so you could have small companies create applications, do all these things very, very quickly. And so you get mobility, then you get the cloud, and right on the heels of the cloud, you get social media. And social media is transformative in the sense that it enables this one-to-many, human-to-human interaction that before these social media platforms really was not possible. In fact, I did a little video this morning, posted it on LinkedIn, talking about three-way calling. Do you guys remember three-way calling?
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, like three-way calling came out, and it was like, you mean we could have three people on the phone at the same time?
Yeah.
Now, I mean, when you compare that to something like LinkedIn or even Facebook, 3 billion users simultaneously. That is culture shifting.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that once, and this is happening where people are really stepping back and seeing it, its usability beyond just, the picture of a cake or, my friend's wedding, like those kinds of things. Now we're starting to see really commercial application of social media and breaking down barriers, those kinds of things.
I think that it's such a great example to say that, the cloud was sort of one of those things that so many companies missed, like Dell and others. It later made up for that strategy, but this is very much the cloud of today. Because if you think about it, the initial applications in the cloud that existed were photo sharing. And, I could get my picture printed on a mug and get it, send it. And you would talk to people about, accounting applications, creative applications like Adobe Creative Cloud, being able to do, feature films and edit them at home by yourself, which, by the way, I'm an Adobe Creative Cloud nut. I have every single one of those applications downloaded, and I've learned all of them.
And ladies and gentlemen, today's episode is sponsored by...
I wish. But at least I could get a free subscription out of it. But no. But the movement of everything to the cloud, from the naysayers that used to say, oh, no, the files are too big. Oh, no, you need security. Oh, no, medical records will never be like that because of HIPAA. And, you have all of these... the naysayers, who are the establishment experts, telling you all the reasons that this isn't going to work. And yet this third pillar that you've identified, which is absolutely spot on, is exactly the same thing. This is, this is changing. So you can either be here or not be here. And in where you focus in the next year to either arm your teams or to just submit, open up an e-commerce site and hope people come and buy stuff from you, because that's the way you're going to be selling.
You're absolutely right. There are a lot of companies, if we were to go back to 2005, there were a lot of companies that missed the boat, and it really opened the door for like Salesforce. Okay. Yeah. Salesforce really was an insurgent company. Yep. And because of that insurgency, the sort of I don't know what not establishment companies, but the existing leaders, they had to rapidly adjust. And the same thing is going to happen with social. The insurgent companies in every industry that adopt social media strategically across their enterprise, those insurgent companies are going to start taking market share from the leaders who say, we're not going to do it. We don't believe in it. We don't think it's a trend or whatever. And it's when they do that, that they'll be playing catch up. But I'm not so sure if they will be able to catch up in the same way that these players were able to catch up in the cloud.
You said a lot right there that I'd love for you to unpack a little bit, because there's some good stuff there. You said that some of these players are not going to be able to catch up, and the players that are there. What are the players that are there now, big or small? What are they doing differently? And think of that, answer that question from this lens, and we all hear it all the time. Social doesn't work. So what are the companies that are doing it well? What are they doing differently that's helping them just move ahead so quickly from others that aren't there?
And are they doing it at a company level, or is it more pockets within some of those companies?
I would say that the companies that are doing it well, I will say this. First, we're still very early, but the early adopters are rapidly moving to adopt these practices. So the number one thing that they're doing differently is they understand social media differently. And so what do I mean by that? Social media enables human to human connection at a massive scale. So networking and relationship building at a massive scale, okay? Where you would previously be able to relationship build with maybe 20 people in a B&I group, or if you went to a convention, you might be able to get 10 people's names and remember their face and be able to follow up with that. With social media, you can do that with thousands of people, okay? Every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a week, okay? The reason why some companies that have adopted social have not been successful is, number one, they don't understand that fundamental point. They look at LinkedIn or Twitter as kind of either a massive database where they can just kind of send out, basically they're doing cold calling or in-mailing, cold emails, and they think, well, there's sort of an infinite number of people here that I could sell to. So if I send out 100 of these things a day, who cares? Yeah. Right? So they just have a fundamental misunderstanding about the nature of the platforms and what they enable. Okay, so number one, so that first thing. And the second thing that they're doing incorrectly is they don't have a process, they don't have a methodology, they're not doing it strategically. There isn't any real intent because there's no strategy behind it. So they just post something and they're like, well, nothing happened. How come the money didn't come in?
Well, they post something, and then they send a message to everyone on their team and go, hey, everybody go like it.
Yeah. Right. That's
absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that's right. That's not how you're going to, because they missed the first thing, which is the relationship building, the human to human connecting part of it. They fail on the second thing because they don't understand how to use content appropriately on the platform. So you need to, in order for you to have a successful social media program, you need a process, you need a methodology. This is why we're doing it, and these are the things that we're going to do in order to execute on that objective. So that would be my answer to that question.
Social Your Sales. We'll be right back.
Is your sales team struggling to hit quota? Are your buyers ignoring your sales requests for conversations? The third tier of digital transformation is social. Is your team equipped to meet this challenge? This show is brought to you by FunnelAmplified. We help sales teams align their sales process with how modern buyers prefer to make their purchase decisions. FunnelAmplified is a social selling platform that drives new opportunities with your sales team, using proven social selling tactics to drive pipelines and hit quotas. With FunnelAmplified, it's quota achieved. To learn more about FunnelAmplified or start a free trial, please visit us at FunnelAmplified.com.
So I've worked for years in corporate America and dealt with large marketing departments that have not always been able to turn the ship very quickly. And actually, when you were talking about Salesforce, I think of the 3 transformations that I went through bringing on board Oracle or SAP. And every one of them went $40-50 million over budget. And then Salesforce comes in, and here's what it is, and here's how much it costs you. And other than some minor integration, that's what you get. And they delivered on something with the ability to handle the scale of an SAP or whatnot, but be able to do it in an effective and affordable way that you can predict. In the great, the C-suite and the marketing areas of these enterprises that I've dealt with, though, the thing that they are having trouble with is budgetary resources now starting to decline. And we saw some recent studies from Gartner talking about a significant decline in marketing spend as a percentage of revenue for this year. And they expected it to be it's dropped almost in half.
Right.
So how are you going to, as a marketer now, get your message out? You can't do the events. You can't do the large scale advertising, perhaps. It's a matter of now refining that integrated marketing communications plan to something that is more cost effectively delivered.
Yeah.
Do you think that in these large corporations, the CMOs, VPs of marketing, and marketing leaders have enough of an understanding where they're going to start to make this change? Or do you think that there's going to be a whole new crop of people coming in, sort of how there was a new crop of IT leadership that came in that started to understand cybersecurity and cloud and all of that, and left the old mainframe guys aside? Is that going to happen in the C-suite with marketing?
Yeah, I think it is going to happen in the C-suite of marketing because that's kind of just what happens. You have the when you're talking to millennials or Gen Z, those people who are leading marketing in smaller organizations, insurgent organizations, those guys get it. They understand the power of social because they grew up on social. Right. So you don't really have to convince them of that. And some of these folks that didn't really grow up with social, they don't really fully understand it. They had to learn, the old way of digital marketing, traditional digital marketing. They're unlikely to change without a catalyst for that change. And usually that catalyst for change is competition. Your market share starts to erode, and then the CEO is like, hello, what's going on? Where's our sales pipeline? How are we gonna generate these sales? And I think the reason why you see these marketing budgets go down is, the paid advertising for fraud and people don't trust it. It just doesn't deliver.
Right.
And I think attribution, the ability to attribute marketing tactics better to the actual results, it's gotten better and better and better. I started talking about this about 10 years ago, where we started to be able to do a bit of marketing attribution for things like email and other methods of communication. But we're now at a point where there is such an amazing amount of information regarding buyer's intent, regarding visits, regarding content, digesting of content and downloading, and all of this has brought us to a point where the marketing group is laid bare. They are filleted open, and everyone can see what's inside.
Yeah.
And the fact that all these years they've been spending all this money. And what's really the result? How much of, especially in the B2B sales arena, which is where I've always been, how much of it is the marketing and how much of it is the marketer, the person on the street that's actually making those relationships, that's putting that effort in, that's knocking on the doors? Does it really matter that the brand color is consistent and that the brochures all look alike? And we have customers that come to us and say, hey, I don't want my salespeople posting stuff that I haven't approved. And you sit there and you go, are you kidding me? You have a story about this.
Oh yeah. We were in the final stages of a contract with a accounting firm. And the chief growth officer was moving it right along. And then towards the end, of course, the CMO kind of sniffed and smelled something going on and joined the conversation. And it was even a mid-tier person on the marketing team that just kind of stood up in a meeting and said, we are not allowing our people to write their own messages and share it in social media. It's like, we don't.
So you don't trust
them.
your team.
Yeah, we don't trust your team. Well, and here was my, this is an accounting firm. And I said, so your bosses, who are all the partners in the business, are not allowed to post to their own personal LinkedIn accounts without you writing or reading it and approving it? And she said, absolutely.
Yeah, unbelievable.
That's bananas. There's one more thing that I would like to point out about strategic social media, and it's really, really important. Okay, and here it is. Although we're using technology, which is a social media platform, there is a significant behavioral change that has to occur. Okay, this isn't a technology solution, right? Traditional marketing is just like, we're going to put it through this marketing automation software. We're going to send it all out. People do the clicks and we get the lead and then people follow up. This is not that. Okay, this is actually much, much better.
Right. Well, it's not
much better.
It's not conversion rates.
Yeah, it's not conversion rates. But it because it is relationship building, okay, it's going to be much better in terms of keeping your existing clients and getting new clients. That's why I said that if you have a competitor in your industry that gets way out ahead of you in doing this, building the relationships, and what social media enables you to do is to really continuously engage.
Right.
And build almost a net around that customer, so that the guy that comes up behind you that wants to now try and take that customer, it's going to be real difficult because they're not going to be able to break through.
Right.
They're not going to be able to break through the content grid that you've created around that person. That person is already going to see you as their go-to expert, as the person that helps them to make sense of whatever it is that they need to make sense of. And every time they have a new problem, which they're looking to solve, you're going to be right there. Because social media, before social media, right, if I'm not on the phone with you or I'm not talking to you right then, that gives an opportunity for my competitor to come in, have a conversation, create an aha moment. All of a sudden, I lost my customer. With social media, I'm putting out stuff every day. I'm always talking to my customer.
Right.
They're always seeing my stuff. I'm always top of mind. So it makes it very hard for someone else to come in there after you've already built that relationship.
Gosh, that's such a clear, I love that description of it for people who are looking and they say, well, social media doesn't work. It doesn't take too many steps down to say, well, what activities were you doing? And then bring it down and have a story like that. Say, what if you could pad your customers so that you were the go-to person for information in their life? And because social media can be busy and our emails are filled with junk, they can just block all that out and then be secure and going, I've got Lenwood. I don't need anyone else.
That's right. That's right. Who opens their email? I hate to open my email box. I open it and I'm like, ugh.
Lenwood, at last count that I looked at my little, the little ticker on your phone that says how many unopened emails. At my last company, I think when I left the company, there were 101,000 unopened emails in my email account.
That's amazing.
And it's because, I can tell what is spam and what's not, and some stuff automatically goes to spam, others come through, and guess what? I've never bought a single thing off of any of it. I've never bought a single thing off of a cold call. And I really have never bought anything off of direct mail, even though I was in the direct mail business. But that's a whole different story. But it to me, the getting back to the digital transformation of companies, so many talk about digital transformation. Companies I was with have been moving to, hey, we now have a VP of digital transformation. But their focus is on selling things and services, a lot of services, into companies to make them, digitally transformed. Yet they're not transforming the way they approach those companies, at least not in a way that I've seen yet. Is that common? Do you think?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's very common. I think there's, I think the term digital transformation has become a buzzword. So everyone's saying digital transformation. People don't really know what that means. I would say most boardrooms don't, the directors don't know what digital transformation is. They don't have the experience. So they don't really know how to hold the C-suite to account. So they also don't know what it is.
And I'll say a lot of those board members, not to jump in here, but you say social media or social selling, they're like, we're not B2C. We're not selling, to consumers. That's like that's not it.
Yeah, it's sort of a fundamental lack of understanding. But they're really digital transformation requires digital strategies. Okay, so basically what I'm saying here is that, you remember those 3 pillars that I talked about? Mm-hmm. The last pillar, which is social media, it digitizes networks. It makes our networks available to us so that we can see them and we can connect with people very easily. The nature of that network digitization requires different business strategies. At every turn, you are customer-centric and you are value-focused. So on social media, when you're using that technology, and that's how I like to think about it, the platform is a technology. Even when you're sharing content, you always have to add value to that content. And when you add value to that content, that makes that content unique to you. So even when you're sharing something, right, from a third-party source, right? I share things all the time from PwC, McKinsey. I love those guys. Yeah. They're great thinkers. And I take their stuff and I think about it and I add my spin to it.
Absolutely.
Curated content.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, curated content, right? I'm the Oprah of social media, right? I'm adding, and so what happens there is that the stuff that they're doing gets attributed to me, and then the people who are really having, because a lot of the people that I talk to, they're not connected to the folks at McKinsey or PwC. They're not connected to those strategists. And frankly, those guys are sitting up in, and I got friends that are partners at those firms. They're sitting up in their ivory towers, and they're not seeing this social media. They're like, okay, I'll go out to take the head of the company golfing. Right. And that's how I'm going to get the business. So they're going to miss the boat too. So anyway, that's, there's great things happening. If you're willing to embrace social media, you can grow your business by leaps and bounds and get way ahead of your competition. Way ahead. Huge competitive advantage.
Excellent. Well, Lenwood, it's been wonderful to have you. I've got 2 things before we go, though.
Sure.
Number 1, I've got to come back to the family game night aficionado. Tell us, what makes you the family game night aficionado, and what is your favorite game?
Okay, this kind of started with my my college roommate's family. We started playing Rummy Cube one summer, and I just found out that my skills at family games, both the actual game and the psychological intimidation.
That's good.
We've got the young ladies running the podcast cracking up in the next room right now. By the way,
they're unmatched. They're unmatched. And so my favorite game to play with him and his sisters and his family, his grandmother. We used to play with his grandmother. Was Rummy Cube. I mean, I am amazing at Rummy Cube. Now, with my kids...
There's all that analyst and strategist coming out. Of course it is.
Right now, I have young kids, so our favorite game to play is charades for kids. And the reason that we play that game a lot is because I have a 4-year-old, and charades for kids, for anyone who hasn't played it, they have little pictures on there. So she can look at the picture and act it out without really knowing the words. Now, there's a problem because she might see a picture and interpret it as something that's different than so we don't all, there's not always a meeting of the minds when we're playing charades for kids, but it's a lot of fun. It's great, clean family fun. We need to have more of that.
Yeah, excellent. What about you?
Okay, so I was a little different growing up. I played canasta with my grandmother. She taught me poker. And then I learned to play bridge. I played tournament bridge with my mom. I actually became a life master in the American Contract Bridge League. So home games tended to be competitive, and it ended up costing money somewhere along the way. There was definitely poker, and then ultimately there was blackjack. Yes, at home, and yeah. And by the way, I taught my daughter how to count cards, which was a very prideful moment for me. Because everyone needs to know that.
Yeah, it's a good skill to have. You can take it to Vegas.
Oh man!
What's
I would tell you what. I feel like this really, we talk about the marketer and the sales guy a lot. Okay, our family game night is going to be totally different. So we have 5 kids, and we have for years we'll turn all the lights off in the house and play hide and go seek throughout the house. We will still do, and our 4 older kids are 22, 20, 19, and 16. And just last weekend, we did family Nerf gun wars throughout the house. You turn off all the lights. you get three deaths before you're dead for good, and we shoot each other with Nerf gun wars. and then over COVID, we really dialed in on Mario Kart tournaments. And they'd actually go into my office and take my whiteboard out and build the big board, like the NC2A basketball bracket. So we'd have the big bracket. We'd have round robin tournaments to set up the points that goes into the playoffs.
This is what happens when you have 5 kids, though.
Well, it's true.
I mean, there's a lot of people in that house that have to be involved in this.
That is very true.
All right, on that note.
On that note, Lenwood, thank you so much for joining us. How would anybody, first of all, tell us a little quick about Accelerate, and then let people know how they can connect with you. And of course, all of that will be in the show notes as well.
Sure. So Accelerate is a digital transformation consultancy. One of the things that we do is train people in strategic social media. We have a collaborative learning experience platform that makes that really easy for large teams. You could reach me at accelerate.com. In fact, what I did is I created a little something for your audience. If you go to accelerate.com and it's a /social your sales, you'll be able to get 5 practical steps to a likable social presence before you say a word.
Nice.
Very cool.
Thank you very much for doing that.
Before you say a word. Okay, so they can go there. They can get that, and that's it. Check me out.
So accelerate.com/social your sales.
Social your sales, right?
Love
you can
it.
get
Excellent.
that 5 practical steps to a likable social presence before you say a word.
You gotta love a man that shows up giving gifts.
No kidding.
Good job, Lenwood. Way to show up. Lenwood, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to the Social Your Sales podcast. If you enjoyed this show, please share it with your friends. Social is meant to be social, and sharing is a great way for us to meet you and get to know you. Click on share and tag us at FunnelAmplified, or just use #SocialYourSales.